Welcome everybody to Level 10, my Heroes of the Storm tutorial series here on Khaldor TV. Today we're going to take a closer look at James Raynor, one of the ranged assassins in the game. We're going to talk a bit about what his strengths and weaknesses are and what the best talent build these days is if you want to play in the Nexus. Contrary to popular belief, Raynor is actually not a good hero for beginners. He is very difficult to play, especially when your opponents start to know what they are doing, and he can still be a valuable asset to the team. He's a very strong hero when it comes down to single target DPS. Positioning with him is a nightmare though, and his biggest strength is probably just to sit behind the tank line and make sure that he gets the most damage in. He's a pure tank melter, and we're going to take a closer look first of all at the skills that he supplies for that. The first skill that he has in his arsenal is Penetrating Round, a skill shot that knocks the target back and also in a certain area around the shot itself does damage, which is actually great if you can get your opponents into a straight line, especially when you try to burst through a creep wave. You can easily do that with a well-placed skill shot. And also, of course, it's very nice when an opponent is trying to close in on you and you want to push him away, but you still have to be very careful when you combo it with other players that are trying to get a good stun lock in or chasing down a hero. If you then use Penetrating Round, you might actually be the reason why your target gets away. The second skill that Raynor has is Inspire. And Inspire is great when you want to push your opponent's wall in, or just if you are in a team fight and you want to help your allies out with additional attack speed and damage. So it's a great thing to have. You just need to make sure that you stand around your allies and then you just press your W and they will get a small boost in attack speed and attack damage. So it's really handy, especially in a big team fight. His third skill, Adrenaline Rush, is actually the reason why a lot of people mistake him for a hero that is easy to play and that is good and suitable for beginners. Adrenaline Rush gives you back some hit points after you drop below a certain threshold, and it can actually be a really nice talent and keep you alive in certain situations. If you're in a big team fight and somebody focuses on you, you might just be able to get away because of this passive. But what it's not is an escape skill, and that is really where Raynor's weakness lies, that he doesn't have an escape skill, and it's very difficult for him actually to get away and out of a fight once that the battle turns. Raynor's passive, Lead from the Front, is a bit of a snowball passive, I want to say. It reduces the cooldown of your abilities once that you start killing minions or even heroes. So if you're actually just bursting through a creep wave with some allies, or you just take down a couple of heroes of your opponent, you just reduce the cooldown on all of your abilities and you will be able to use them so much faster, which is of course great for Inspire especially, since you can then supply your team continuously with extra damage and also attack speed. So it's a really neat passive to have. But it's something that really works best when you're already doing very well in the game. Raynor's big weakness, and also the reason why he's not very suitable for new players, is that he doesn't have an escape skill. We touched upon that already earlier, but I just want to come back to this real quickly, because the big problem with him is positioning. At the beginning, it might not really matter all too much when your opponents don't know what they're doing, but he is a hero that is very tough to play when you're up against opponents like Tyrael or Stitches. Just because once Raynor gets initiated upon or gets hooked in, you have no chance of really getting away if your opponent knows what they're doing. You will be locked down in a stun lock and they will take you out like trash within seconds. So with Raynor, positioning is everything. If you look at the other ranged assassins in the game, like Falstad, like Vala for example, most of them have an escape skill. With Vault, Barrel Roll and other talents, they can simply get away. Even Nova has a decoy, the hallucinations that you can use to just get away from an opponent. Cloak is helping you as well. Nova is a hero that is also difficult to play, but even she has a couple of moves that she can pull out if she is in trouble. That being said though, Raynor can really melt down targets. He has great talents later on that give him a huge amount of burst DPS. We're going to talk about the most popular talent build right now and also the most effective one. The first three talents before we're hitting our heroic ability are of course on level 1, level 4 and level 7. And for us that would be on level 1, Give Me More, which increases the hit points that you get back from Adrenaline Rush, so that you can just stay in those fight a bit longer. It gives you more sustainability. On level 4 we're going for the Advanced Optics, which gives you some range, and that allows Raynor to stay farther in the back and away from the opponent. As we said earlier, positioning with him is really everything. You need to stay away from those stuns and you need to stay away from your opponent for as long as you can, so that you can dish out the damage and it can really be an asset to your team. Level 7 is where searing attacks come into play. Searing attacks is one of those talents that you need to activate, and the cooldown is actually like very low, so you should always do that if you have the chance, and it just allows you to do more damage with your right click attacks. And Raynor is a hero that relies a lot on his right click damage, so use that whenever you can, especially of course in team battles, and that's really where Raynor starts to do a lot of damage to single targets. Later in the video, we're of course going to look at alternative talents that you could take with a hero if you want to go down a different path. But for now, we're going to stick it out with the most popular and probably the most effective build. Looking at the level 10 talent, that's where we have not only Raynor's Raiders, but also Hyperion come into play. You have to make the decision again at the heroic ability, and the standard decision these days is to go for Raynor's Raiders. The reason is quite simple. First of all, you can really pressure a single target a lot. You can not only combine it with your right click attack and then just simply burst that down as fast as you can, especially when somebody in your team supplies some stun and locks the target down. But Raynor's Raider is also very good if you want to chase an opponent. So it combines and harmonizes very well with the rest of his kit and just allows you to drop one target as fast as possible. Hyperion, on the other hand, is a skill that really deals damage in an area, and it can be very powerful, but it depends a lot on where exactly you use it. Your opponent knows that as well, so what they are going to do as soon as you pop your ultimate with Hyperion is they're going to move away from it and try to fight just a few seconds later at a different position. Where Hyperion can really make a difference is on maps where the objective is in a certain area and it's just like stationary. A good example would be Sky Temple, but still even there, Raynor's Raiders usually is prioritized over Hyperion, but it's definitely an option that you have on this map. With the level 7 talent searing attacks, we're already starting to go into this direction where we dish out a lot of right click damage. But on level 13 and level 16, things are getting real. Because right now on 13, we're going to take Giant Killer, which is a great talent, especially when you're going up against hit point heavy targets like Muradin, like Arthur's, and you want to drop them fast. And we're going to use that with the level 16 talent where we're going to pick Berserk. So suddenly we're talking about Giant Killer, we're talking about searing attacks, and all of that together with Berserk, so a lot more attack speed that we get with our right click attacks. And you really see where this is going. You're trying to play with a team that can lock down a target with a stun. Muradin on your team would be an example, but there are a lot of other heroes that can supply the same utility in the battle, and then you just like go ham on them. You drop your searing attack, you go for Berserk, and you just right click that target down, you use your Inspire during the fight, and you will see those hit points of your opponent plummet like there is nothing left. As mentioned before, mobility is Raynor's biggest weakness. He does not have an escape skill, and level 20 is finally changing that. Bolt of the Storm is an option on him, so finally we have that short distance blink that we can use to get away from our opponent, and it's always the talent that you should take there. We have certain situations where you might want to think about getting the extra talent for your heroic ability, but in 95% of the games that you play, Bolt of the Storm will be the right choice for you. Especially in the later stage of the game, the death timers are so high that you just simply cannot afford to die. If you followed that build so far and you have players that support you in your team, you can turn into a monster. You go into those team fights and you just drop all of the active spells that you have and you take their hit points down. You just annihilate an entire team if you are supported well, but you always have to make sure that you stay away from those dangerous stuns, and then you'll be able to drop like 3 or 4 targets easily if your front line is protecting you long enough. There are of course a few alternative talents that you might want to think about. One of those hits on level 7 when we have Fight or Flight. It's not really the standard build that you would go for, but if you feel that you have a lot of trouble staying alive with Raynor, and if you're a newer player and it's really more survivability that counts for you, you might want to try and take this talent. Because the most important thing about it is that once Adrenaline Rush gets activated, you are invulnerable to stuns for 2 seconds, and that's the most important thing. If Raynor is out of position at some point and the opponent tries to stun lock him, that's what really takes you down. And with this talent you can actually get away in most cases. It takes a lot of your damage away on the other hand. Searing Attack is really one of the best talents that he has when it comes to DPS, so you really should think about this trade-off. But in certain situations, if you really want to play Raynor and you feel like you are just not good enough with his positioning yet to make a difference, this might be a talent that you want to have a look at. Level 13 is another talent where we have a choice. Giant Killer helps us, again, with the damage, but there's also Spell Shield to consider. If you feel that there is someone on the opponent's team that gives you a hard time, like Nova, like Falstad, with magic damage and especially burst damage, Spell Shield might be the talent for you. You have to drop Giant Killer for that, so you might want to take Searing Attacks on level 7 and then go Spell Shield on level 13. If you go for both of those passive talents, you start to drop in damage really fast, so you need to be careful with that trade-off. But Spell Shield can be a lifesaver, and depending on your opponent's team composition, it might be the best choice for you here. Another level where we can go down a different path with our talent is level 16. On level 16 you have the choice to go either into Berserk or you could go for Bullseye. And Bullseye is also in the competitive scene oftentimes chosen over Berserk, because what you can do with it is you can even provide an additional stun to the stun combo that your team is already running. So if your team is trying to lock down a single target with your penetrating round, you might with Bullseye be able to just add to that on top of it and make sure that the opponent is dropped faster than that. It's extra damage, it's also the stun that is being supplied here, so you should probably talk with your teammates about what they would prefer, if they would really prefer you just stand in the back line and do your damage, or if they want you to add to a single target. If the whole purpose of your team composition is to erase a single target super fast at the beginning of the fight and then turn towards the rest of the opponents, this might be the talent for you. Keep in mind though that it relies on you hitting your skill shot. So if you're not really all that good with it just yet, you might want to go into Berserk for the first few matches and then maybe later experiment with that new talent. This is it for today, everybody. I hope that you guys enjoyed the tutorial and that it helps you to stay alive and fight in the Nexus. Make sure that you give it an upvote on YouTube if you liked the video, share it with your friends and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done that yet. I'm going to supply you boys with a lot additional guides in the near future. I hope that you're enjoying the content on the channel in general, and I'm going to see you soon enough with the next video here on Khaldor TV. Bye bye.